Yeah, so as Richard said, a quick update on a couple of projects that we're working on, a couple of product related or not so product related one. So the first one, and we talked about that in previous meetings already, is that we are in the middle of doing a rather large update of the portal and its functionality. There's a couple of parts to it. The first one is actually a little bit independent from the actual portal. Rewrite is where we're working on adding the possibility to have two-factor, multi-factor authentication for your portal logins. The reason why we think now is the point to move to that is we're adding more functionality in the portal, i.e. self-provisioning, and invoices are present. We think it's really about time to increase that part of the portal and make sure you can have your authentication as secure as it even might be required from your side as well. We're currently working in the background on that, but there will be more information coming forward over the coming weeks and months once we start to enable that. The other one, as we mentioned before, so over the last, towards the end of last year, we worked with an external agency to develop a prototype with a new UI and UX for the portal. We went through quite a significant number of use cases, scenarios, and developed a bit of a different and more modern approach to the portal, especially in regards to all of the functionality that we want to add. Simply the current portal, it has evolved over time. Bits and pieces have been added, and as those things work, it doesn't always help you to keep it too well structured and too nice to use. So that is one part, and we have started now with the implementation phase based on the outcome of the prototype, which actually during the development of that prototype, we involved a number of members to get feedback on how they want to use it, and that is for regular members, but also for our partners, connections members, to also cover their use cases and what functionality is important for them. There is two main focus areas really. One is the UI user interface, and to build it in a way that we can add additional features and functionality throughout. The second part of it, at least as important, is also a lot of changes to the backend, especially the stats area, to improve performance overall of the portal and make it a more valuable tool for your site. And Ricardo is going to talk a little bit more about the work that he and his team on the software side are doing in relation to that. A rough timeline is that, so the implementation work has just started. There's quite a lot of bits and pieces. It's not only just a new front end, but a lot of the back end work is changing at the same time, making much more use of our internal APIs for a lot of the functionality. So during the first quarter, a lot of the base functionality and the framework around it is going to get worked on, with hopefully that by the end of Q1 we'll start to have an internal version that we're going to start using for beta testing internally, and then an external either full release or beta release towards the end of Q2, early Q3, hopefully at the latest. And as I mentioned before, so the two-factor, we see that kind of a little bit independent, so we expect that that's going to happen kind of in parallel, and will get implemented on the current portal as well, of course, as on the new one. The following slides are just a couple of examples of these are not the final layout. They are really the outcome of the prototype, but it's just to give you all a little bit of an idea of what to expect and hopefully what to come back. So this is kind of your dashboard. When you log in, you will have capabilities to change what you see on your dashboard, and an overview of both traffic on your services and the overall LINX traffic, and a much more the navigation through the whole portal is much more streamlined compared to what it is at the moment. This is just an example view on specific to your services. In this case, the interface for your IPFix NetFlow based stats. So again, quite a lot of work we're just going into there to make that more useful and make it really a useful tool for you to use on a day-by-day basis, and you're still going to have the SNMP based traffic stats and the IPFix NetFlow based per peer stats.
Mike, just before you go on, there's a question on the chat around the authentication. So question from Ivan. Given that there's updates to include multi-factor authentication, are there plans to include OAuth 2 primary for company authentication?
I'm not sure I can give a full answer. So the way we are currently planning to implement it, so we're using the current plan is we're actually using Okta internally for our single sign-on and two-factor, and the plan is to also use Okta for this one, but we can probably get more information and get back to you on that one. So this is just a view of the user management. Again, that's functionality which is currently in the portal, but we are going to make that again a bit more user friendly, and we're going to in the future plans we're going to rely much more on the permissions of individual users to be able to restrict permissions, i.e. who can view your invoices, who can order new services, and again, once we get to self-provisioning, MAC changes, so that we can give you the functionality that you can define who of your staff members have which permissions on the portal. Again, a functionality which becomes much more important as we keep on adding functionality into the portal. Another part is the order process, and Ricardo is going to mention a little bit the work that we have done on the current portal for the onboarding process, which is much more streamlined and the guided through process for new members to sign up to become a LINX member, and the same change where currently. We have already improved the order forms quite a bit, but with the new portal, we hope again to make that process much more intuitive and easy to use, and add functionality there for any changes to existing services or ordering additional services through LINX. Again, as we're adding additional products, it's an important part of what we do. And even if it might probably not be there on day one, the idea is to make that internal order management visible, exposed to you in the portal, so you can go back to your orders. You will see a status of your orders once they've moved on to provisioning, once they have been completed. So that's just a couple of a little bit of a glimpse into what you should expect to see later on throughout the year. And as I mentioned, Ricardo is going to talk a little bit more about that in the technology slot later in the afternoon. The other part of my short slot is really just a quick update on the different interconnection related products that we have and where we're putting a lot of focus into. So the first one, and these are existing, so private VLAN, we launched that quite a while ago. It's a very simple service, point-to-point layer 2 connection between two different members. You can either provision it on your existing ports, which in that case, we just convert them to a .1Q tech port. we call it internally then is a multi-service port. Or you can order dedicated ports. It really depends on the use case that you have for that. The price is based on the bandwidth, and like same as peering service, they just have a 30-day cancellation notice at the moment. Although we're also considering if we can make that even shorter so that you can really do it kind of on demand. But that's a further evolution of the product, especially once we go into the area where we allow you to self-provision these services. The second one, very similar to that, is what we call closed user group. Is simply a connection between, well, at least 2 or more members, very, very similar to private VLAN. And again, for different use cases, we've seen the demand and the need for that. So a couple of changes that we're doing based on member feedback. So from day one, we actually allowed you, although we probably haven't mentioned that very often, and it's easy to overlook on the order form. By default, all of the ports on the peering LANs, they are limited to 1 MAC address per port for rather obvious reasons. But we know that for these private VLAN-based products, there are a lot of use cases where there's a benefit to have a higher limit there. So you can specify, by default, they will be configured with a single MAC address limit on the port, but you have the option to increase that. The other one is something that's going to come during Q2. Currently, similar as our peering LANs, the MTU is limited. It's set to 1500 bytes on these products as well. But again, we know that there are use cases where there's a benefit to have a slightly larger frame size on it, especially depending on what services you want to carry across these layer 2 circuits. So that will be an option that's going to come relatively soon, where you can specify a larger MTU size on these products. Last but not least, so at the moment, these are only available on LON 1. That's where we started them. LON 1 was the first fabric that we had fully under config automation, and we always said we only want to do this on platforms first where we have the underlying hardware support, but also have the config fully managed by automation platform. With LON 2 also already being under config automation, with a couple of features being added, and again Ricardo is going to talk a little bit about those things. So the goal is to bring these products also to LON 2. LINX Manchester, we're currently in the middle of decommissioning the old Extreme platform and moving that at the same time as quite a significant capacity upgrade. We're moving LINX Manchester to EdgeCore and IP Infusion, so the same platform that we're using for LON 2. And as a consequence, it's going to go under NCA, and it's going to allow us to also bring these products to Manchester if the need is there. And last but not least, LINX NoVA, which is at the moment based on Juniper. It wasn't really under config automation until last year, as the number of changes were relatively lower. It was lower priority, but the LINX NoVA network is also fully under config automation, and there's nothing that would stop us to also bring these products over to Northern Virginia. The last one is our Cloud Connect product, where we said at launch we're going to start to offer direct connections to Microsoft for the ExpressRoute product and the Azure peering service, and Amazon for the AWS Direct Connect. We have completed all of the backend work, the changes to the config automation and the portal functionality, order forms, and visibility of services. That all was completed before Christmas last year, according to our plans. What didn't go exactly to our plans was getting Amazon and Microsoft to get us to the point where we can order the direct ports with their networks. So we're in the final steps of getting that work completed. So hopefully that's going to happen relatively soon, very soon. And then we can fully launch and enable the product. We're already talking to a number of members who have shown their interest, and we're working with them on their use cases, so that as soon as we have the connections to both Microsoft and Amazon, we can start delivering these services. And that's pretty much all that I have for you for today. Any questions? If not, as Richard mentioned, we'll be in the breakout room. You can also ask there.
So, Mike, you got a couple of questions that come in on the MAC address, specifically on the MAC address. So was asking, Blake was replying to it. Will the MAC change allow multiple MACs at the same time, or is the change the MAC address once the port is moved?
No, we will, and this is only for private VLAN and closed user group type products. So we will allow multiple MAC addresses at once. We're obviously not gonna allow you an infinite number. We still need to protect our underlying platform, but we'll allow you for those use cases where you need it to have multiple MAC addresses on a single port.
And the other one was about the automation. So there was a question about when does the change occur? Is more a statement around can LINX make clear I guess the kind of the workflow or the state when you do a MAC change? Is it pushed automatically and done instantly, or is there a process, and can that be made clear?
So at the moment the MAC changes are still manually. And it's going to be one of the first self-provisioning features that is gonna come to the portal, and we're going through the different scenarios there where you can either request the MAC address to be changed at a specific date and time, or you can just you want the MAC address to change now, which is probably, especially in the self-provisioning use case, the more important one, since it's what we see at the moment, where we get a request from a member, I had to change the line card of my router, and my service, although it's up, I can't see any MAC addresses. Can you change it now? So the self-provisioning through the portal is going to allow you both use cases, where you specify when you want the change to become active, or if you want the change to be active right away.